let me make this unequivocally clear before I begin this video. The kids on these campuses, I understand that they may be afraid. I understand that they may have, some concerns. I understand that they confused as anybody about what's going on right now. And some of them are clueless. They're just their head is in a fog. Why is this happening? What could this be? And they're leaning on, their teaching, what they've been taught about why something like this would happen. And they're leaning on the older people in their community and in their schools of why this may be happening, why this rash of similar incidents across the country at schools that, HBCUs. Why is this happening? And I completely understand that. And to those kids, my heart goes out to them. This is not their fault. They don't know what's going on. They're just kids on a campus being told that somebody's trying to do something heinous to them, and the implication and the only alternative, the only valid reason that's being given is that it's because of how they identify was the color of their skin. So those kids, look, man, these just 18, 19-year-old, 20-year-olds. It's got to be tough for these kids. All this month, there's been a lot of threats to the campuses of our historically HBCU, historically Southern colleges and universities. Okay? So there's been a lot of threats this year. And the implication immediately is that it's some kind of attack being done from outside forces, from anti-HBCU forces. And now they've had a few earlier this year, and there have been no findings. The FBI is on it. They haven't found anything. They've come through. They've locked these schools down. They've sent in the best of the best task force. The best that the world has to offer. All types of SWAT teams scouring every crevice and every nook and cranny in the school for any signs of any kind of anything. They haven't found anything. And now today there's a whole new rash of them, including Bowie State and the flagship HBCU Howard. And immediately the implication is that, well, of course, who's doing this. It's, wow. And it's a national story. ABC, News, they're all covering this. See, the alert just came across my screen. And I covered the ones at the University of Utah a few weeks ago, which turned out to be fake. And the president still apologized. The president of Utah University apologized. Even though every murder on the campus of University of Utah, which is a predominantly PWI, predominantly glacier school, every murder on the campus of the University of Utah where someone actually did something to somebody came from 2% of the University of Utah's campus population. And here at these HBCUs, where it's a national story that they're not going to find any bombs, they're going to find out that it was fake, that the person who called it in was a Sun team. They don't talk about all of the shootings and murders at these HBCU campuses, which is a story that I want to tell you guys about today, because that's what we cover here. For the students at these places who can't speak, they don't have a voice. They're voiceless. The amount of shootings and murders on these HBCU campuses is like the difference between a normal neighborhood and a Sun community neighborhood in real life. It's the same. When you hear about a shooting on a college campus, it happened there. Unless it's one of those, few big ones that happen every couple of years or whatever. Like Kent State or something like that back in the 60s, 70s or something. But it's just like here. Just like in any city. DC, Baltimore, Chicago, New York, Atlanta, Birmingham, New Orleans. If you hear there was a shooting, you know what side of town it happened in. And that's the same thing with these colleges. If you hear there was a shooting on a campus somewhere in the United States, you know what happened at a HBCU. Period. And if it didn't, you're pleasantly surprised. None of that made national news. None of that. None of that made national news. None of that. And I mean none of it. None of it even was worthy of a follow-up story from any of the local stations. Okay? A few outlets covered it on YouTube. But none of these outlets that are covering this. You won't hear about it anywhere outside of here in a few places. The huge story that when there's a shooting on a college campus in America, you can bet your house on it that it was probably at a HBCU. And if it wasn't at a HBCU, if it was at a PWI, you know what students did it at the PWI. Currently on the life of an HBC student. We just love being victims. It's a bomb threat, man. They're not going to even find a bomb. A week from now, after they do a thorough investigation, they're going to find out that it was something. They'll find out that it was some Sun team that did this. And then you got comments like this. Now that Sun people are becoming more and more educated, we seem to see these problems in America today. What seems to be the problem? Why can't we all live together? So tone deaf, so so much lack of self-awareness. Like, dude, it would be the dumbest thing in the world. In the last 2 years, the son on son murder rate has skyrocketed to levels it's never been seen before, ever. You guys are killing each other as if there's some kind of like bounty on each other. It's like a bounty. But in the midst of all that, as it keeps skyrocketing and it's trending upward, and the laws that could stop it are being taken off the books, and everything's becoming super liberal to help foster it growing exponentially, the murder rate. Some glider's gonna risk going to jail. Some glider's gonna risk going to jail to join in on the fun when they can just sit back and watch. You got a Democrat president in office. Every major city where some people live is run by Democrats. The murder rate is skyrocketing. And I'm glad sitting back thinking like, yeah, let me go to jail for trying to. Or I'm a racist glacier glider. I'm sitting back and I'm like, let me go to jail for the rest of my life to try to, contribute to this. All they have to do is sit back. They don't have to do anything. Another rash of bomb threats to our beloved HBCUs. Education is power. We shall not be moved. You think this woman commented on any of the shootings on HBCUs this year? See, she commented on any of those? HBCU bomb threats. Where's the urgency? Well, the FBI's on the scene at all those schools. The top bomb teams and SWAT teams are on campus at all these schools. The lack of self-awareness, like it's. Well, I'm a Sun man, but if I wasn't, I would just marvel at this. Like, literally, all those schools are on lockdown. I mean, the schools are on lockdown. The students are home, evacuated. The top teams that do everything involved with bombs are on the scene. Okay, now we heard where's the urgency, right? No comments on this post. 7 comments on this post. Absolutely ridiculous. On one hand, they don't want us in their spaces. This stuff is comedy, man. I'm sorry. On one hand, they don't want us in their spaces. Then they don't want us to have our own. Over some bomb threats that are going to be proven to be done by some Sun team. They're going to find no bombs anywhere. They took immediate precautions just off the threat of it. These evil racist supremacists didn't say, oh, well, bomb threat, all right, well, let's let it go off. Let's act like we didn't hear it. They sent the top teams, squadrons, everything. Took the most drastic precautions. It's at an HBCU, which is your own space. Their schools, the PWIs, the predominantly glider institutions, they just eliminated the SAT as a requirement. Why? Well, not because Crouching Tigers averaged 1,400 on it. Not because gliders averaged 1,200 on it. But because you can't average up below qualifying score on it. And you have somewhere in the 800s. And you can't, and making that a requirement, that test a requirement, makes it harder for you guys to get into these schools. So they just completely eliminated it as a requirement. They didn't change the score. They didn't say, all right, let's lower the score, which would have been more embarrassing because they would have lowered the score and then you still wouldn't have been able to get that. But they just completely eliminated it as a requirement. And you got the nerve to say that these people don't want you in their spaces? And the implication is that it's because of the color of your skin. Any space they don't want you in, the color of your skin has nothing to do with it. Please pray for Howard students and other HBCU students around the country receiving a second round of bomb threats this month. The first right before the anniversary of the insurrection. And now, the day before Sun History Month. This in addition to other issues that many students, faculty, and staff at HU have with regard to current handling of the pandemic. Many of us are exhausted and weary and even afraid.